Imagine waking up in a world that doesn't know you exist. It's 50,000 years ago, and you're standing on a sun-scorched African savanna, stark naked with no phone, no knife, no nothing, just your modern brain and a body built for scrolling apps, not surviving saber-toothed cats. The air hums with danger, a distant growl, the rustle of tall grass, the oppressive heat pressing against your skin. Could you make it through a single day in the Paleolithic world? We love to romanticize the past, camping under the stars, binge-watching nature shows, or daydreaming about living off the land like our rugged ancestors. But the Stone Age wasn't a cozy retreat. It was a relentless gauntlet of predators, starvation, and unseen killers that would test every ounce of your wit and willpower. Recent archaeological discoveries, like those highlighted by the Smithsonian's Human Origins program in 2024, reveal that our ancestors weren't just surviving, they were mastering a world that would chew up and spit out most of us before the sunset. This isn't about whether you're tough. It's about whether you could learn fast enough to outsmart a world designed to destroy you. Let's dive into the brutal reality of what it would take to survive 24 hours in the Stone Age. Your first moments in the Paleolithic world aren't about finding food or building a cozy campfire. They're about not becoming lunch. The savannah is a predator's playground teeming with beasts that see you as an easy meal. Picture a spotted hyena, its jaws strong enough to crush bone, stalking you through the grass. Fossil records show these creatures regularly hunted primates, and their extinct cousin, the short-faced hyena, was a lion-sized nightmare with a bite that could swallow your head whole. Every shadow hides a threat: leopards, lions, or crocodiles lurking near waterholes. Your modern instincts, dulled by years of urban safety, are your worst enemy. While you're squinting at a distant shape, wondering if it's a boulder or a beast, a Paleolithic human would already be halfway up a tree, having spotted the predator's ear twitch from a mile away. Dr. Clara Vinton, an evolutionary biologist at Cambridge University, points out that modern hunter-gatherers grow up reading the wild like a book. From childhood, they learn to interpret a bent blade of grass, a faint scent on the wind, or the subtle shift in bird calls that signals danger. You're blind to these signs. Your anxiety spikes with every rustle, but it's not enough to save you. Your body, softened by desk jobs and delivery apps, can't outrun a hyena's 40-mile-per-hour sprint. Even if you climb a tree, you'd need to know which ones leopards can't scale, a fact your ancestors learned through generations of trial and error. Survival in these first hours demands hyper-awareness and lightning-fast decisions. One wrong step, one moment of hesitation, and you're a statistic in the food chain. Let's paint a scene. You're stumbling through the savannah, heart pounding, as the sun climbs higher. A twig snaps behind you. You freeze, scanning the horizon. Is that a lion? A hyena? Your brain screams, run. But where? There's no map, no 911, no one to save you. A Paleolithic human would have already mapped 3 escape routes and noted the wind direction to avoid being scented. You're still trying to decide if that shadow moved. The clock is ticking, and the wild doesn't wait. If you survive the first hour, your next priority is finding a place to hide from the elements. The Paleolithic world doesn't care if you're cold, wet, or baking under the sun. Excavations from sites like Terra Amata in France show that early humans used natural shelters, overhanging cliffs, shallow caves, or even animal hides stretched over branches to shield themselves from wind, rain, and predators. But finding shelter isn't as simple as stumbling into a cave. Caves often house bears or hyenas, and claiming one meant risking a deadly eviction notice. In colder regions, like Ice Age Europe, humans built shelters from mammoth bones and packed snow, creating insulated huts that could withstand sub-zero temperatures. You, however, have no tools, no knowledge of local materials, and no time to experiment. Imagine you're in a forested valley, shivering as dusk approaches. You spot a rocky overhang, perfect, right? Wrong! You don't know how to check for animal tracks or scat, so you might crawl into a bear's den. Even if it's empty, the stone is cold, and the wind cuts through you like a blade. Building a shelter requires skills you don't have, identifying sturdy branches, weaving grass for insulation, or skinning an animal for hides. The 5,000-year-old remains of Otzi, the Iceman, found in the Alps, reveal he wore a coat of goat and sheep hides, leggings of deer leather, and shoes stuffed with grass for warmth. Crafting that outfit took tools, time, and expertise, none of which you possess. Every hour without shelter brings you closer to hypothermia or heat stroke. The Paleolithic world doesn't forgive amateurs. Picture yourself fumbling with sticks, trying to lash them together with vines you hope aren't poisonous. Your hands are blistered, your stomach growls, and the temperature is dropping. A Paleolithic family would have built a windproof shelter by now, using techniques refined over centuries. You're still figuring out which plants won't give you a rash. The sun sets, and the night's dangers, cold, predators, despair, are closing in. Fire isn't just a luxury in the Stone Age. It's your lifeline. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa shows that early humans used fire as early as 1 million years ago to cook food, stay warm, and fend off predators. But making fire without a lighter is a nightmare. Forget the Hollywood trope of rubbing two sticks together and getting a blaze in seconds. Creating fire requires specific woods, one hard, one soft, dry tinder, and a technique that takes years to master. Dr. Elena Marquez, an anthropologist at UC Berkeley, notes that Ice Age humans developed precise fire-making tools, like bow drills, that required both skill and patience. You're starting from scratch, with no clue which plants make good tinder or how to maintain a spark long enough to ignite it. Imagine the scene. You're crouched in a clearing, scraping two random sticks together, sweating and cursing as the sun dips below the horizon. Hyenas howl in the distance, and the temperature plummets. You've got a pile of damp grass that refuses to catch a spark. Even if you miraculously get a flame, you need to know how to feed it without smothering it. Paleolithic humans spent generations perfecting this art, learning which woods burn longest and how to bank coals for the night. Modern survival experts, with all their training, often take hours to start a fire in ideal conditions. You're hungry, tired, and terrified, hardly ideal. Without fire, you're exposed to the cold, unable to cook food, and a sitting duck for predators drawn to your scent. You might think hunting a deer or picking some berries sounds doable. Think again. Paleolithic hunting was a high-stakes operation requiring intimate knowledge of animal behavior, terrain, and weaponry. Fossil evidence from Germany's Schöningen site reveals that early humans used sharpened wooden spears to hunt large game like horses. But they didn't just charge in blindly. They tracked herds for days, learning their migration patterns, and used fire to funnel animals into kill zones. Dr. Vinton explains that modern humans lack the ecological fluency of our ancestors, who could read subtle signs, like a scuff in the dirt or a shift in wind, that meant the difference between a successful hunt and starvation. Gathering is no easier. A 2023 study from the Levant shows that early humans consumed over 60 plant species, but identifying safe ones required knowledge passed down through generations. Eat the wrong berry, like those from the deadly nightshade plant, and you're writhing in agony within hours. Imagine you're foraging, desperate for food. You spot a bush heavy with glossy red berries. They look delicious, but are they safe? Your ancestors knew. You don't. One bite could end your adventure in a puddle of poison. Even if you avoid toxic plants, you need to know where to find calorie-rich roots or nuts and how to process them. Some require soaking or cooking to be edible. Without this knowledge, you're gambling with every mouthful. Picture yourself stalking a deer, a sharpened stick in hand. You've never thrown a spear, and the deer bolts at your first clumsy step. Hours later, you're starving, nibbling on a leaf that might be safe. Your ancestors hunted in teams, using strategies honed over millennia. You're alone, clueless, and running out of time. Predators and hunger aren't your only threats. The Paleolithic world is crawling with invisible enemies, bacteria, parasites, and viruses that your modern immune system isn't equipped to handle. Genetic studies from 2024 suggest that many human diseases, like tuberculosis, emerged in the Paleolithic, lurking in water, soil, and animal carcasses. A simple scratch from a thorn could fester into a deadly infection without antibiotics. Parasitic worms, common in prehistoric environments, could infest your gut, sapping your strength. Even drinking water is a roll of the dice. Streams might carry giardia or other pathogens that leave you doubled over, too weak to run from danger. Imagine you found a clear stream after hours of thirst. You gulp it down, unaware of the microscopic hitchhikers in every sip. By nightfall, your stomach cramps and you're too weak to move. Paleolithic humans learned to identify safe water sources through trial and error, often at great cost. You don't have that luxury. Every cut, every bite, every drink is a potential death sentence. Your modern body, used to sanitized water and Band-Aids, is a sitting target for the Stone Age's microbial minefield. If you're still alive, your best hope lies in finding others. Paleolithic humans didn't survive alone. They thrived in tight-knit bands of 20 to 30 people, sharing tasks, knowledge, and resources. Archaeological sites like Dolní Věstonice in the Czech Republic show that these groups had complex social structures, with individuals specializing in hunting, tool-making, or storytelling. Cooperation wasn't just helpful, it was essential. A lone human was a dead human. These bands passed down vast amounts of knowledge through oral traditions, art, and rituals. The cave paintings at Lascaux, for instance, weren't just art. They were survival guides, showing which animals to hunt and when, based on seasonal changes in their coats. Imagine you stumble across a group of hunter-gatherers. They're wary, their eyes scanning you for threats. You try to communicate, but your gestures are clumsy, and your lack of skills is obvious. Would they accept you, a liability who can't hunt, make fire, or even speak their language? Your modern brain might help you learn, but you'd need to prove your worth fast. Paleolithic societies valued teamwork, and every member had a role. Your best shot is to watch, mimic, and learn at breakneck speed, because if they decide you're not worth keeping, you're back on your own. Our 21st century brain is your greatest asset and your biggest liability. Neurologically, you're identical to your Paleolithic ancestors, capable of the same problem-solving and creativity that let them conquer hostile environments. Studies show that early humans developed tools, like fishhooks and sewing needles, that rival modern ingenuity. You might even have an edge in nutrition. Modern diets, when food is available, provide better growth than the feast or famine cycles of the Stone Age. But your advantages stop there. Modern life has stripped you of the skills that kept your ancestors alive. You can't track a deer by its hoofprints, distinguish edible mushrooms from deadly ones, or navigate a forest without GPS. Dr. Vinton notes that urban humans lack the sensory acuity of hunter-gatherers, who could smell rain hours away or hear a predator's stealthy approach. Your reliance on technology, phones, cars, grocery stores, has dulled your instincts. Imagine trying to prioritize. Do you search for food, build a shelter, or make a weapon? Your ancestors knew the answer intuitively. You're guessing, and every wrong choice brings you closer to death. Picture this. You're exhausted, hungry, and lost in a vast wilderness. Your phone's dead, your shoes are gone, and you're trying to remember a YouTube video about survival. Your ancestors navigated thousands of miles, memorized hundreds of plants, and hunted in teams without a single app. You're not just fighting the environment, you're fighting your own ignorance. The real question isn't whether you could survive their world, it's how you'll honor their legacy in yours. Will you take their ingenuity for granted, or will you marvel at the tenacity that got us here? The Paleolithic world was a crucible that forged humanity's greatest strengths. Your ancestors didn't just endure. They rewrote the rules of survival. As you sit in your climate-controlled room, sipping coffee, take a moment to appreciate the impossible odds they beat. You're here because they were extraordinary. What will you do with their gift